Oh, it was hot in there. Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Triple Feature. This one is obviously going to be Halloween spooky themed movies, and going into it, we all have a type of kind of haunted house, Halloween haunt, like Universal's Horror Nights, or just your run of the mill, average suburban haunted house type movies. So, going into our first movie, we have Haunt, which is a Shudder original, and I only found it just scrolling through Shudder because I got a free month. I should mention, by the way, it's really easy to get free months from Shudder. I tried to get rid of it earlier this month, and they're like, well, you could actually have another free month. So I'm like, all right, fine. I just got another free month, and I tried to get rid of it literally just like a couple hours ago, and they're like, well, you could have another free month. I'm like, fuck, what? Fine, thank you. I'll have another free month. But there's a lot of cool original movies on Shudder. Some more that I'll probably cover in the future on this. But this one's a pretty generic, run-of-the-mill slasher type movie, but it's got a great set and production value with like the little super extreme haunted house that they made. It feels like a place some people could actually make, but not like to the point where it looks like it was just some shitty set that they threw together, cobbled together in a couple of minutes. Most of the rooms are really dope, except for one that I'll just spoil, like knives hanging on string. Like, that's not super creative, but other than that, all the rooms are really unique. And there's a fun little kind of gotcha moment towards the middle that also elevates this above other generic slashers. So do the characters. Not a lot of them have a bunch to do, but everyone has some fun lines. You can not like root for anyone's death, except maybe the one comedy relief character who was annoying at first to me, but I found myself loving him eventually. He's kind of abrasive in his comedy relief, but I enjoyed it. And overall, the kills are good. The set, like I said, is good. The makeup's really good. And I think if I had any like big complaint, it would be that there is this one red herring character that they kind of just do away with in a kind of predictable way. And if they did something unpredictable with it, the movie would have taken a really interesting direction that I don't know if the rest of the movie or just even the script itself could handle. But that's fine. It's a pretty fun movie just to put on for Halloween. You could look at it for like most of the time, glance at your phone or eat candy or drink punch or whatever, Bob for apples, and you're not going to miss much, but it's still an enjoyable time overall. And the highlights, what I would call Primo Kino, I would click that, except it's not Kino. It is the end credit song, which is a kind of slowed down, more somber version of Rob Zombie's Dracula, and it bangs, and it doesn't fit the movie at all. It kind of comes out of nowhere, but I love it, and it went straight to my Halloween playlist. All right. The next movie we have is a movie I had heard stuff about in forums of like, what's the scariest movie of all time? A lot of people will point to this one, Hell House LLC. And I watched it, and I can say it is genuinely spooky in some parts, especially like kind of the slow build-up to the end. So I'll give you the basic premise. It starts as like a faux documentary of a haunted house gone wrong. So at the very beginning, we know that something goes terribly wrong with this haunted house on the first night it opens. And then we flash back to them setting up the haunted house over like the course of a month. And all throughout that, we get some really cool kind of unique found footage type scares where like the camera will be shaking and you see something and it moves. Something that's been done a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of found footage horror movies, but this one specifically, with a clown in particular, has some really good ones. And I also don't hate the characters that much. A couple of the characters kind of do start to fall into that trope that a lot of found footage characters do, of just being like loud and abrasive and like yelling and going, I can't take this, I gotta go, just like really overacting. And that happens a lot in found footage movies. And this movie isn't actually that bad about it. Not as bad as something like, I don't know, Looking at You, As Above, So Below. But I think the relationship between the main two guys is pretty strong and kind of keeps you going when there's not like spooky stuff happening. Keeps you invested because it is a bit of a slow build-up. And that is where I have to do our first instance of boo. Because the build-up to this exciting climax, which is pretty much basically laid out to us at the beginning. It's a really horrific event. We see like people's reactions, people talking about it, but we don't actually see it. And building up, like I said, there's some good scary moments. I'm like, all right, this ending or this climax of what happens when the actual haunted house is open is going to be really exciting. And it's not really exciting. In fact, it's like, what? Do you want to see the jump scare? I'm going to mildly spoil it. It's literally a bunch of dudes in hoods that kind of appear out of nowhere and start like milling about. It's really lame. I've heard there's a director's cut of this, which makes it even weirder. Like a giant like CGI portal appears. That sounds also lame. I can't really honestly say what I'd hoped it would be, because, well, I didn't make this movie and I didn't set out to have this climax specifically laid out in the beginning as being this exciting moment we should be waiting for, and then not deliver on it. So I don't know what I would have wanted. Maybe something like just like really like extreme, like just shocking to the point where like it doesn't have to be scary. It just has to be like, well, that did deliver on being something I did not see coming. And afterwards we get a kind of weird twist reveal, because the climax ends and the faux documentary ends and we go to like the present day and we get like one of those classic second twist climaxes of a horror movie. And you know what the jump scare in that one is? You won't believe it. It's more guys in hoods jumping out. And yeah, so overall it's a great build up, probably one of the better build ups I've seen in like a faux documentary found footage type movie, and it just pisses it all away at the end. But still fun for the first 80%. Like I said, those clown jump scares might even be enough to watch it. And it is also a really good Halloween movie in itself, because it's all centered around Halloween basically. And then going into our final movie, we have the movie Bloodfest, which is a movie I had heard about just because I thought the premise sounded cool, like a giant theme park just themed around like horror and haunted attractions, which I'm surprised doesn't actually exist, because I bet Universal on the Horror Nights makes like 80% of their profit from the year from just that event. Have you seen what they're charging for the year-round pass at Universal these days? It's like $4 a month to go whenever you want. It's kind of embarrassing. So this actually takes that premise and makes it a thing. But the problem here is that this is a Rooster Teeth produced movie, which I guess the YouTube channel and like the production company behind it has like had a whole host of problems with like treating staff poorly or whatever. Unfortunately, I was never like really a big fan of Rooster Teeth. Pancake is, so sorry about that, Pan. But so I went into this knowing it was kind of be probably a bit cheapish and kind of amateur, and it was. A lot of it was, but there actually are a lot of cool ideas. Unfortunately, a lot of the cool ideas are like side plots. The main plot is really dumb. It's really stupid, and the main twist is equally dumb. But a lot of the side plots, specifically one involving Jacob Batalon, who you may know as Ned from the recent Marvel Spider-Man movies, you can kind of see why he was the big breakout from this movie, is because he kind of steals every scene he's in. His subplot is great, it's really funny, and kind of like sweet and sincere at the same time. And it also utilizes like some of the fun aspects of having a whole haunted theme park. Like he gets sent away on a little side quest where he meets like the vampire section of the park. And it is cool how we have like each section is like a different type of horror movie subgenre. Like there's the slasher area, the clown area, the zombie area, the vampire area, blah, 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 blah. And that is used cool. That also leads to the other best part of the movie, the subplot involving the kind of washed up slasher actor. Like he was the guy that played Jason in the universe, and he gets to confront himself as like an actual person and kind of comes to terms with his kind of failing acting career and what it meant to star in a kind of schlocky B-movie type production and be that what you're most famous for, even though you kind of like want to move past it, which is kind of a fun and introspective look that this movie doesn't really capture in any of the other aspects. It's also probably the best written idea, and it's really good. So I hope that the writing team at least gets to move on to something that isn't punctuated with nerds in a control room playing zombie attack. Yeah. the zombies are controlled by gamers, and then they get blown up with a grenade at the end, and they're like, "Oh, nade out!" And like, ugh. That's like the Rooster Teeth influence. And I think the only person in the movie that's actually like from the Rooster Teeth channel is one of the girls, who I will say is a baddie. But I don't think the Rooster Teeth has any like cameos like the guys that were on the Achievement Hunter or the Red vs. Blue, not that I know of. And the main bad guy is so schlocky and over the top that it could have been done well if the guy was a better actor, but it kind of just comes off as like, ugh, get this guy off the screen. And I mean, the main guy actor does a decent enough job, not like dragging the rest of the production down. But like I said, Jacob Batalon and the washed up horror actor guy are the best parts, at least for me, and just the general idea of having a giant horror themed park. And so I would also recommend this as probably the movie you would look at your phone the most while watching, but still, like, you're not going to be like mad about your time after watching it. And I think the order I would recommend these movies in would be the order I talked about them, with Haunt number 1, Hell House LLC number 2, and Bloodfest number 3. None of them are like unwatchable, but they definitely have parts that could have been stronger. But overall, if you're having a Halloween party, this actually wouldn't be a bad 3-movie marathon to throw up on the background. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you in some more triple features in the future.
For my life, can't say that, girl. Don't tell me you could say that shit. All she want is payback for